Hello, if you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by. And in today's video, I am going to be thumbnailing out some scenes for some songs I like. I'm going to be basically applying my original characters to songs that I feel like fit their dynamic or are really fun for playing with their dynamic a little bit. And I don't know, I was just kind of in the mood for something fun this week. So, as usual with my videos, if you draw along with me, I'd love to know down in the comments what you draw, or if you drew it all, or what you created if you didn't draw but created something. If you have the time to watch all the way to the end of the video, I would really appreciate it. It's fun to get to show it all off at the end and show you guys just all the weird stuff that comes out of my sketchbook from time to time. And, yeah, so if you have any thoughts and opinions along the way, feel free to throw those at me as well. And so for the first song on my roster, I'm doing Suicide Romantics by Des Rocs, or maybe that's not his name, but that's how I pronounce it. I've been a big fan of his music, I think since the album Suicide Romantics is On came out. I'm not 100% what year that was, but I can picture the album cover. I'm one of those people, I don't really know what year songs come out, nor do I usually remember the names of albums. I think I can name 2 Will Wood albums, and I can't think of any other. I can name the Jekyll and Hyde a Gothic Thriller musical soundtrack album name, but that's about it. It's not something I'm good at unless it's like a self-titled album. I know Sum 41 has an album called Sum 41. That's about it. You know what I mean? So, not really my thing, but it's the Red album. That's really pretty. Lots of roses and like a chair. That's not helpful. I'll put a picture up right here so that I don't sound completely crazy. But Suicide Romantics was my first song. I really like the song. It was the second song I ever heard by Des Rocs, and it's definitely one of my top favorites. Not my favorite. Maybe like top 5. Yeah, top 5 for sure. And so I think the dynamic's fun. I think it definitely gives a feeling of kind of troubled desperation, kind of this sense of just not knowing what to do, not being able to do what you want to do, things like that. Maybe like a destroyed kind of relationship that had previously been there. It very much gives the feelings of we were once best friends against the world, and now here we are, and this is it for us, and we're not gonna both make it out alive. And it's something that I feel suits kind of the vibe of the relationship that some of my OCs have, and kind of the the trials and tribulations that they go through from time to time. And so I think it's definitely fitting, and I think it definitely evokes a lot of emotion that I want to be better at portraying. I want to be able to approach those facial expressions better. Do I think I'm going to get it right the first try when I turn one of these thumbnails into an illustration? No. And you know why? Because I can't figure out how to draw guns. The theme of this video is I can't draw guns. That's what this whole video is actually going to be. But I don't think my first try is going to be perfect at all. But like, what's the point in doing it? Or what's the point in not doing something because you're scared you're not going to do good? Like, you have to do it to get better, right? I'm not going to magically be able to do facial expressions if I don't try. So I think that of the thumbnails that I do, the songs I do for this one, I don't think any of these for Suicide Romantics are going to come out as like my best work, quote unquote best work. So that's something I'm already anticipating, and so I let myself have fun kind of with the thumbnailing, not really thinking about too much while doing it, just vibing to the song, just living in my head, just enjoying the experience. And so it was really fun, and I feel like I got to explore composition a bit more than I usually let myself. I think I'm particularly bad at staying in a theme when I'm thumbnailing. I think when I'm thumbnailing, I put down a lot of different ideas for a lot of different things, and I don't actually force myself to repeat the same concept in different ways, where I can actually test how I want to evoke the feelings I want to evoke, or kind of test the composition to find what suits the narrative I want the best. And I think in that I also kind of explored different ways you can approach the narrative for this. So that'll come up a little bit later, but I was definitely having a lot of fun with these thumbnails. And I don't know, it felt good to go back to thumbnailing as well. I feel like I did it in a video recently, but when I'm actually like flipping through my sketchbook, there's definitely not as much thumbnail sketches as I'm used to actually doing. I don't know, I've kind of slipped away from it recently. And I think in a sense that it's made my art like worse. I think my lack of thumbnails has genuinely impacted the looseness of the art that I'm making, and I think I've gotten a little bit stiff, and so I definitely need to go back to my more gestural quality in my work and start working more through kind of just refinding that like loose kind of directly from the brain stuff that I like to make, right? So that's something that I very much was getting back in touch with while working on this, and it was a really, really pleasant experience, to say the least. I very much was happy to get to like recenter myself in that. Who watch my videos like actually look at me do stuff. The cat on screen is Cruz, so he's a menace. He will not be leaving for a long time. He made this process tedious, but in the enjoyable way that cats make processes tedious. Cruz is certainly, of my cats, the hardest one to distract with other topics. Like, he's really hard to get looking at and playing with something else consistently so I can get work done without making him feel like I'm not giving him attention, and therefore make him want my attention even more. But it's all good because I'm doing just a basic pencil sketch. My cat just walked into a door, if you heard that thump. That was my cat being stupid. That one was William. But because I'm not working with a medium that's like dangerous or messy, like I don't care. I don't care if my cats walk on my sketchbook. I don't care if they walk on my art desk, as long as I have it safe, you know, no paint, no markers or anything where they're breathing fumes. So if they want to play with a pencil or something, or chew on something that's safe, I mean, like, sure. I'm fine with cats on my work desk. I'm not okay with my cats on other surfaces, though. So no counters, no tables, things like that. We have a special table box for the cats to sit in so that they don't jump up on the table playfully and do things like that, but I'm not a fan of it, and I'm hoping to be able to break that habit when I move out with my cats. The ones that are moving out with me, they're not all mine. Not all the cats in the house are mine. William, can you please stop it? You are literally fine. It is a cobweb. Are you growling at a cobweb? William, cease your behavior immediately. William is cross-eyed, and so there are just times where she sees stuff that's not like actually quite there. We're not sure how she sees things, but it's definitely like you can tell she's looking at something, but it's not there or really a thing. Or she'll see things, but like she'll get like confused about what they are and think they're way scarier than they are. You know, she'll get really scared by some shadows sometimes, or she'll fist fight shadows that don't make sense. But you know, she's just a little bit goofy sideways. I don't know if it's all being cross-eyed, but yeah, the cobweb did not win. That's a plus for Will. But so back to whatever I was talking about before. So I'll just merge into kind of the other topic of today's video, which is I'm going to be pre-recording next week's video. So this is a channel update, kind of. I will be pre-recording next week's video. and it will be a my favorite art books style video. I'm going to be going over art books that are not necessarily supposed to be tutorials or teaching you things. They're just kind of an art collection of it's like the works of the artist. It's not necessarily trying to educate you. Maybe there's educational qualities, or maybe there is some sort of education component, but it's going to be like artists whose books where they just show their art inspire me the absolute most in what I like to create, I want to create, things like that. Maybe I'll tack on my like top 10 educational art books at the end. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but ultimately my computer has to be shipped in for a hardware repair. It has been not working properly since I got it, and I have always had MacBooks because they're the most reliable computer I've ever had. I had non-Macs when I was younger, like a kid, and they would get viruses and stuff, and I'm not super tech savvy, so basically I save up my money and buy a new MacBook when my old one dies. And my old one lasted almost a decade before its battery started not doing so hot. And it still works, it just needs to be charged 24/7 basically, which I got my current one so that I can basically like leave the house and do my college work still. And it just came not working great. So I am sending it in under warranty. Thank you, Apple, for having year-long warranties, to get it checked out. And so I live in an area where I don't have access to things like mail carriers. I don't have access to those things, so basically I have to have somebody drive 2 hours because I can't really commute like that, to drop off my computer. And so I will not be with my computer for a while, because hardware repair. And I'm also going to maybe have a hard time getting it back. People tend to not be able to find my house for things like electronics that can't be shipped to P.O. boxes because I live isolated from society. So I'm pre-recording next week's video because I will be out without my computer as of Tuesday. So it'll be a couple days after you guys get this video. So I'll probably be recording my book tour thingy on Sunday so that I can upload on Monday and my computer can go to the abyssal void, the Pokemon Center of Healing, later. So ultimately, I'm a little bit stressed about it, and I'm hoping that both this video and my next video's quality is up to par. My computer having this hardware malfunction, it happened abruptly, and it does impact my ability to do my job and my college work. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I just haven't been feeling good. My chronic illness has been kind of fluctuating in ways that are abnormal for me, so I'm not feeling particularly hot in that aspect. And then my computer decides to die. So, you know, I'm not feeling super great. So I'm hoping that the videos come out good. I am not 100% on how the audio is gonna go. I'm hoping it's good. But I noticed that my mic is picking up a lot more movement than it usually does the last couple videos, and I don't know why. I don't know if I'm wearing like a different shirt than I usually wear when recording or something like that, but I've just been having audio issues, so let me know if those are bothersome. I think I will get it in post though. So ultimately, next week's video will be pre-recorded pretty closely to this one, and so I actually know 100% for certain what I'm doing for once. For once, I'm not like, let's put up a poll and suss out what I should do. Which, by the way, if you didn't know I post a lot of polls, subscribe. The community tab has them. I put up really stupid polls. I think my last poll was, I know my last poll was, do I talk too much in my videos? And long story short, the answer was not yes. So the people who voted in the polls, who are the people whose opinions matter the most, because they clearly spend way too much time on my channel. I love you guys. Thank you. All said I don't talk too much, which means I can continue rambling, and it's all their fault. Not to put y'all, people who voted on the spot, but you voted, so you said my rambling's okay. So if other people have a problem with it, you know, it's not me. I put up the poll. I asked. Not to actually deflect the blame. More so when I ask if I talk about too much stuff or irrelevant stuff, it is because I do kind of treat the voiceover component of my videos a bit like a vloggy style thing, kind of the thoughts of the artist as I watch my own work back. So, you know, it is important to know for me, would you guys rather me talk about the art the whole time? I could always go back to the good old days, the sweet, sweet first few months of my channel where I put music breaks, like I gave you guys breaks from my rambling. Remember those? Yeah, they're over. You just get yapping now. But still, I was mostly curious if, for things like that. And then I feel like I have something else to say about this topic before I move on. Yes, I do have another video going over some of my favorite art books. And so I'm 50-50 on if I will bring art books back from that video. If you care about that, that video does exist. I'll refer to it more next week when I'm going through the process. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach it yet, but I do know that that will be the video. So look forward to that if you're interested. I have an art book problem. Like, it's my favorite type of book to buy is art books. And that's rich coming from somebody who loves to read. So now to explain the toy gun. Good thing I'm not monetized. I think I'd get in trouble. But anyway, as far as this is concerned, I'm very much a direct visual learner. I work the best when I'm using myself as a reference, right? And so I always have weird cat toys around my house, and this was a thing that someone got my cats for Christmas, so I did pull that out to kind of reference how it looks to hold a gun. So, you know, the cats were very happy that it got shut off. And so that's what thumbnail 6 was mostly for. It was for getting the concept briefly, but also kind of figuring out how these hands might look, because I've been avoiding them so much in my thumbnails, and I do think how you overlap parts of your imagery is an important part of, like, how you convey your narrative, right? And so I wanted to figure that out. It was kind of bothering me. I was getting uncomfortable with my weird meat hands that I was drawing just to get the ideas down. And so when it came to it, I just, you know, the little cat gun helped. As for thumbnail 4, I was trying to figure out a different positioning, basically, for thumbnail 3. It is probably one of my personal favorites in terms of, like, actual composition and, like, how I approached drawing it, right? Like, I like the way the character, like, is fitting in the frame, basically. And so I wanted to redo it and give it just a slightly different angle. Ultimately, I did put up a poll, which I'm going to note somewhere in my timeline to put up the poll. But I put up a poll on my Instagram, and I inquired through a slider, which is not the most effective poll method, which of these are the most appealing of thumbnails. And it was kind of ranging in the 3 to 6 range. And I think it was leaning a little bit more towards 4 and 5. So I'm not entirely sure which one it is, based on the poll, to be honest. It's a slider bar, and so I'm not entirely sure how effective it was for actually figuring it out, but I couldn't figure out how to get Instagram to do a, like, multi-option poll. I think it would lean a little bit more towards 4 maybe 5. It's right between 4 and 5. So, looking at the picture, I think that in terms of as the song goes, 5 is technically the best for plot. And, actually looking at it now, I do think that 5, which isn't super well conveyed on the camera right now, like you can't see it super wonderfully, I do think 5 is the best in terms of like conveying the plot narrative. 5 and 2 probably. Although I do think I want to draw 3 or 4 for fun. Find maybe a different song that I can put it there for, just because I do like how it looks. And I think it would be fun to just draw my OCs as tactical girls. I love tactical girls, like character design wise. I think they're very beautiful. And I very much like the intricacies of the outfits and all of that. So I might do that. But I do think ultimately I'll end up having to go with 5. And because it's not super easy to see what 5 was, it is there is a character head at the base of the page. I don't know why I just didn't finish the thumbnail, I guess, ultimately. So, unfortunately, the next song that I wanted to do, I got the inspiration for it while I was in class and working. So I'm pretty back to back with work and class 2 days of the week. And so I was working with a student when I did the top thumbnail, and then I was in my typography class when I started the bottom thumbnail. And so the top one, let me back up. So I very much love Persephone by Tamino. I think it very much fits the feeling of the tale of Persephone in a way that is particularly enchanting, and it appeals to me a lot. I very much like how he approached the narrative, and I also kind of wanted to make it a femme fatale. We've been talking about femme fatales in my macabre modernism class, and while Vivian is usually my more morally questionable OC, definitely a lot more morally questionable than Nameless, I very much liked the concept of her being the villain, right? So, top one, I have not figured out how I want to fully approach the concept of bathing in the river Styx, right? So, when I watched your first bathing line, I only warned you with a lowered voice, be wary of my river's undertow. It flows from the water with the coldest source. I can't believe I was able to quote that. I'm usually really bad at song lyrics. So the river Styx bathing scene, I definitely wanted to do, and I gave it much more of like a nature decrepit background, which I'm like, why did I do that? But it looks so pretty, and I kind of want to just go with it. And then the bottom one, I'm only here to tear your heart into. Wow, good job, me. Coughing blood. I didn't want to do anything like particularly gory, but maybe like a poisonous love kind of thing. Y'all know me at this rate. My thing for black inky stuff dripping down OCs is absurd. Can there be black ink? Yes. Will there be then? Yes. Is it not really appropriate for the scene? Yes. Will it still be there? Yes. So definitely something kind of more playful like that. Not playful. It's depressing and homicidal, but you know how it goes. But yeah, definitely was enjoying the concept of maybe Vivian being poisoned by love. Maybe the pomegranate seeds will pull those in there. Ate some, and I don't know. I'll think up the plot a little bit more thoroughly. I wasn't listening to the songs while working on them for the most part for some reason. Well, actually, I know the reason. I don't know why I said for some reason. Once I get the line in my head, if I'm listening to the song, I'll get distracted by other lyrics, and it will kind of muddle the narrative that I want to depict. So just keeping that thought in my mind is kind of important for me to actually process the information. I'm very easily distracted, and so basically by confining the breadth of my ability to intake more information was to keep me on track. And so you could make arguments about what song the next one was, because I actually didn't have one song in mind, but I had the vision for a general theme of music, kind of a dominant femme fatale sort of thing. Thank you, William. I love when you knock my pencils over. But I liked the dominant femme fatale idea, and so I was mostly thinking of the song Love the Way You Die, and I'm totally blanking on the artist because I don't know any other music by them. I think they're like the Black. I very much wanted to have a lower kind of, I wanted my composition to be very bottom heavy, right? So if I was able to keep the composition kind of almost all at the bottom, so that the background can be a flat color like black or blue or orange or something like that. I wanted it to feel more like a movie poster. I've done a few posters for my classes, and I don't know, I just really wanted to do kind of, I Like the Way You Die by Black Honey, there we go. Sorry. And I kind of want to do more work that feels very printable, very much like it's supposed to be a poster, it's supposed to be hung up, or it's supposed to be advertising something. And I feel like this one has a lot of narrative, but a lot of ambiguity. And so, who's stepping on him? I don't know. You don't know. Who knows? It could be any woman you want. It could be any man you want. Who knows? And I liked that. I definitely didn't do too much effort on actually figuring out the chin to Adam's apple to chest concave, or the concave under the Adam's apple to the collarbone. Didn't spend too much time working on that, just getting those base concepts for the anatomy down. And so, do I know the distance between the chin to the Adam's apple to then that divot before the collarbone when a neck is stretched? Apparently not, because I think I drew it too long. Can't tell. Do I need to make a reference? Yeah. Will I figure it out later? Yes. But for the actual concept, I think I like the first option more, right? I'm not opposed to the kind of cropped vibe that the landscape orientation is offering. However, I still am really liking that poster feeling. I think what I would do is I would make almost like an alternate version of the poster where it has this at the top. I don't know if that makes sense, but like a cutaway, kind of more of a graphic novel or manga style kind of panel overlap to kind of further push the narrative along without having to provide much information or redraw the panel with different expressions and stuff like that. Just a little close up, maybe a zoom in of the panel with just a little bit of a alteration, almost said altercation. I think that could be fun. I don't know. I think this is what I'm going to do digitally because I'm going to really struggle with that shoe. I do not know how to draw shoes. I've never been good at drawing shoes. You can see my incredulous hand as I'm trying to figure out how do I actually do a shoe. I don't know how to do shoes. I think I can generally get them moderately okay when they're small, like they're very much a small part of a bigger illustration, and I can be a little bit more loose with the coloring and the way I like actually carve out the form. But I don't think I know how to draw big shoes. I don't think I know how to like center a shoe in frame. So don't worry. I probably won't take you guys along for the multiple pages where I'm going to be having to figure out how to draw big shoes. And ultimately coming away from those two sketches, I know people like women in pretty heels and stuff like that, and I was trying to mix my preference for shoes with that. I'm gonna do like a chunky big heeled platform boot, probably. It just suits my preferences more, and it also suits Nameless as a character more, and Eris a bit more. So at least then you can associate a particular person with a particular OC of mine with who might be stepping on Vivian, which, yay. And then, in terms of the next illustration, is going to be a comfort illustration. And so this is because I wanted to kind of challenge Vivian's character with the top two, and then kind of return to something that's more in character but still abnormal for him in the third one. So Vivian as a character, being the oldest of the group, he's a couple 100 years old. He is pretty closed off. He knows what he wants. I wouldn't say he's a dominant character by any means, but he has a lot of self-autonomy and very little concern for kind of other people's plans and intentions and desires for him. Once he kind of has his mind set on the best method for things to go, he's usually going to stick to it. He is a character of extreme rationality and logic, to the point where it just is hard for him to understand the emotional side to arguments like, that might be dangerous. What if you get hurt? There has to be a better way. He will always choose the most logical but self-sacrificing way over the one that will take into account the emotions of my other characters, right? So while not dominant, he's not submissive by any means, and he's very much usually the character who will be in a position of authority, or if he is not, there is kind of a mutual respect, and he is in a greater position of power as opposed to others on the basis of how those relationships form, right? But he's also the more parental of the group, right? My trio. So Eris being an incarnate of chaos, always getting hurt, always getting in trouble, always wreaking havoc, always causing chaos, very much Murphy's Law, right? And so with that, she's very much constantly getting herself into trouble. And Nameless, they're always getting themselves into situations where they're not necessarily in trouble, but they are the youngest of the group. They're the only one that is still in their human lifespan, right? She's like early 20s. And so with that, she's very naive to the world of immortality, very naive to this newfound zombie lifestyle that she has, the organization that they work within, and has granted them refuge and reprieve from a world in which immortality is unacceptable and very intensely sought after. Unacceptable but sought after, because how dare you be immortal but I can't? How dare you get to live forever but I have to age and die? So more so unacceptable through the jealousy of the masses, right? And within that, Vivian, while he is a little bit more emotionally stunted since his wife passed in his attempt to grant her immortality and give them a life forever, and curing her illness and all of that, they kind of very much became detached from their emotions because the most intense emotion they've ever felt was what drove them to what granted them immortality without the love of their life, right? And with that, then, his most intense emotion led to his second most intense emotion, which was the grieving of her and having to accept an eternal life without her. Wow, my cats are just being problems today. And so with that, and with all of these emotions and things like that, he doesn't want to admit that he cares for the rest of the crew, and he doesn't want to admit the extent to which he worries about them and cares about them, but he will always be the one that the characters will emotionally fall back on and will be a source of stability. And so with that, I wanted a more comfort illustration. So not as much based on a song. Could I find a song that fits it perfectly? Absolutely. I listen to enough music that I have something for, but I haven't actually gone out of my way to think of one while doing it, because I had chosen a song that challenged him as a character, and I wanted to then maybe pair them together in a poster format, so maybe extended. Also, the hand, beautiful. The gun, gorgeous. I don't know why I was so upset about it. I should have never erased it. It was perfect. But I'm doing another thumbnail for Suicide Romantics because I found a good reference. A good reference that then sent me into an emotional spiral. But that's fine. I found myself very much just enjoying playing with Vivian's character and the way his personality kind of manifests, but when do I not enjoy challenging him as an original character and just making his life miserable? Obviously, I killed the love of his life, so at least some suffering is warranted from me, and clearly I love harassing him, right? And so with that, I very much enjoy that third thumbnail that I don't think is very easy to see, so I'll try and pop up a closer picture. Is very, very poorly done. They're technically naked. I didn't think about clothing in it, just basic forms, but I like the way it looks, and I will be taking a reference. So that does mean I'm going to make my partner coddle me on the floor in a fucking full squat position. He's gonna be so annoyed, but I'm super excited to harass him, so it'll be good. Then coming back to the Suicide Romantics one, we're not coming back to anything. We're coming to the Suicide Romantics one. I found a reference that kind of had this nice foreshortening, and I liked it, and I think it'll be at the very least a good reference for how the arm will foreshorten when a gun is extended. An arm is extended with a gun, but I don't know how to draw guns still. In all of these thumbnails, I haven't even gotten remotely close to figuring it out. So, I don't know. I don't know if any of you guys had this issue, but in middle school, that one kid who could draw guns perfectly all the time and make them up and they look super realistic, I need that kid to have imparted his knowledge on me. I know his name. I remember this kid very distinctly. We were friends in middle school, but I wish this knowledge had been imparted upon me, because I literally cannot comprehend these geometric shapes. And so I wasn't even really thinking about the gun and the fact that it looked bad. I was trying to figure out the foreshortening of the arm, and the visual had an interesting shadow casted right around the armpit region, kind of where the arm is twisted, but it would lead into the armpit. And then the way their short sleeve shirt was kind of curving their shoulder, but it looked a little bit funny. And so I was kind of trying to figure out how to incorporate that artistically in a way that won't make me look like I just slapped a clay arm onto somebody. I was just trying to figure out the foreshortening. Is very much something I'm not great at. And once I got to the hand, which needs to be the biggest part, and the gun, I realized I don't know what I'm doing at all. And I just kept trying, and I kept pushing it, and I never saw reprieve from the confusion. So I can draw hands. I know it doesn't seem like I can draw hands based on this video, but I can, I swear. And I actually quite enjoy drawing hands. They're something that I have a lot of fun with, especially digitally. I love drawing hands digitally. I can draw them, I swear, and I don't just reflect my hands. So I do know what I'm doing, but I very much generally tend to start with sausage fingers and then carve out the knobs of the bones later, and trying to comprehend the basic shape of how fingers will wrap around a cubic shape. Geometric shape. There we go. My brain can't handle it for some reason. I'm gonna need to take pictures of my hand holding the cat gun at a bunch of different angles and just dedicate my time to the cat gun. It's just something that I need to do because I'm never, ever, ever going to see success any other way. I literally do not understand at all what I'm doing. And it's the most, ignorant and confused I felt as an artist in a hot moment. Usually I can go somewhere instinctively where I'm like, oh, that's okay. This just never gets better at all, by the way. The gun never guns, by the way. Now that we're near the end of the video, this feels like the appropriate point to bring up this question I have for you guys, because the people who watch this far are going to be the only people who care. So I've mentioned it a few times that I got accepted into my grad school for my Master's of Fine Arts because I want to be a college art professor, hoping to teach kind of the more fun or beginner art classes so that people have a better time than I did, because I had some horrible teachers my first several years. Maybe I should do a video talking about how I just hated. I've had some really, really bad and disrespectful teachers, or how I have maybe had teachers who just didn't realize what they were saying was kind of insensitive and stuff like that. And just kind of some of the experiences that I had that made me be like, I want to be better than these people. Maybe that's petty. Maybe that's a very petty reason to become an art professor. I hated you as a teacher, so I'm going to become a better version of you. Oh no, I didn't think about it until now. But I start my MFA on the 27th or 28th of May for my summer term. And so with that, I was wondering if you guys would be interested in maybe monthly or bi-monthly updates where I basically I'm getting an MFA so you don't have to. Some people do need an MFA, but it is definitely up there in the types of degrees that people don't need to get. You know what I mean? So my MFA, I'm getting it because I want to be a college art professor, and so I need an MFA to do that. A lot of people don't need an MFA to be successful artists. You do not need a degree to be a successful artist. You don't have to have ever taken a college art course in your entire life to be a successful artist, right? And so with that, I very much don't believe you need to pay for art education. And if you do, it's very much up to you if you want to pay for university art education, or if you want to pay for other artists to give you education through other online means. Perhaps you follow them on Instagram and they come out with a course. Do refer to reviews, people's experiences, and stuff like that before you spend money on any sort of art course. As much as I like to believe that us as artists are going to be ethical and respectful and not scam people, there are scams out there. And so with that, I very much encourage you all to do extensive research before you spend money on any form of art course. So let me know if you're interested in I get an MFA so you don't have to. And I'd also be willing to review art courses once I'm financially stable enough to pay for some of them, because one of the ones I'm attending the free seminars for, I'm attending free seminars and she keeps advertising her course. Not a hate on her, of course, advertise your course, girl, but it's like $2,000, and so with that I'm like, okay, too expensive for me, but in a distant future I would be willing to review things like that once I have my MFA and kind of compare, right? It's definitely more affordable than an MFA for most people. And so, with that being said, I would be very interested in, if you guys are curious about my MFA experience, once I have one. I'm going to be TAing for some people, and I'm very much hoping to really push my boundaries artistically. So you'll probably see a lot of the projects I'm doing for my MFA in YouTube videos where I won't really even mention them, because it's kind of like independent study with guidance, like parental guidance from good artists, right? That's kind of what an MFA is. And so, it's kind of about whether or not you'll be seeing my work regardless, but if you want to actually hear about the experience, I love to tell it. So with that being said, I really appreciate you sitting all the way to the end of the video. Please like if you like, dislike if you dislike, comment, share if anybody you think would be interested in watching me do song-based thumbnails. Comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are. And with that, bye-bye.